Swami Bhuteshananda has written a wonderful book called Sri Ramakrishna and His Gospel. And we were reading the other day at the breakfast table a small passage here that was quite interesting in converging the paths of knowledge, or jnana yoga, and the paths of devotion, or bhakti yoga. And he says this about it. Sri Ramakrishna used to say that for an ordinary people, devotion combined with knowledge is good. Swamiji also laid great stress on this, Swamiji being Swami Vivekananda, of course. Reasoning is necessary, but instead of putting our whole effort into just reasoning, we should also practice sadhana following the path of devotion. And that is, loving God, doing worship, singing his praises, thinking about his play in the world and all of the different incarnations and the stories of their lives and teachings, stirring up the heart. Because our mind is composed of both that reasoning and that emotional side. There's two components to us, and both of them are fundamentally important to our growth. He says, otherwise we'll be like a blind man going to the abode of God holding on to a cow's tail. Now, this is quite an interesting little picture here. And it says a lot, that if we only reason, then we only get a hold or a grip on the tail of the world, the material world, and that becomes dry and becomes academic, as it were, and it doesn't bring the heart along. It brings the mind to God, but doesn't bring the heart along as such. And so he's telling us that we have to involve the heart. We have to fall in love with love. We have to do the practices of purifying the emotions and the intellect to give us that completed picture before God. In the terms of language, when they talk about the self, they're talking about God, what the devotee would call God. For a bhakta, Jesus or Buddha or Ramakrishna, they are the manifestations of the divine. They are that which give you access to the pure moment in you, the pure eternal moment, which is the self. There's no difference in that. That reasoning helps to calm and pure the mind, helps you to let go of the mind, helps to let you see the nature of mind. And the fact that it's mind that's holding all of your karma, and mind that's holding all of your desires, and your mind that's holding all of the samskaras, all of the sense of identity, all the things that have to be clipped off, cut off. We've talked about having to let go of your ideas from the past. Ego is constructed out of the past. Your past experiences, your past identities, places you've lived, the families you belong to, the jobs that you've had, the money that you've made, the pleasures that you've enjoyed. All of these things are stored in the mind. And so we have to clip that off through reasoning and through sadhana, connecting with that higher self, connecting with that sense of I that remains unchanged in us always. No matter what size or shape your body has been, you always knew what you were talking about when you said I. No matter what condition of the mind you are in, how many changes it goes through even in just an hour, when you say I, you know who you're referencing. It is that unchanging, stable, eternal, ever-present self, the I am. Our only problem is that we say I am and we don't stop there, which is the truth of our being, that we are that existence. We instead add on all of these adjuncts, all of these adjectives, these limiting and restricting definitions of what we are. So it makes us small. It makes us tiny instead of that infinite, ever-present, pure self, which has no boundary, which is able to be in perfect stillness and perfect equanimity, perfect contentment, because it's not being squeezed through five senses to a mind that's scrambling to make sense of that, through its limited faculties, and forcing everything that is eternal into time-space causation, and causing a real warp of a mess called Maya, this oneness broken into its many pieces, seeming like a multiplicity because of the nature of the senses and the mind.